Do 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 do. Anyway, that's my little intro for Star Trek Prodigy. Season 2 is, well, it's completed, but we are continuing our third installment in a series of podcasts where we're covering all of these episodes. This is the one where we go through episodes 11 through 15, which includes episodes like The Last Flight of the Protostar, Part 1 and Part 2, a Tribble called Quest, Cracked Mirror, and Ascension, Part 1. Not Part 2. We'll be talking about that in the next podcast. So, and I didn't watch it yet. So we're going to get into it all. We got our great panel here once again to break this all down. I'm Dave Mader, live stream here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You might be listening to us on the audio version. We got Jessica Chan with us once again. Hey, Jessica.
Hello.
Hello, good to see you. Excited to talk about these episodes with you. Coming to us from parts unknown, we got Davan Skelhorn.
I don't even know where I am.
Yeah.
And
And
all I can see is concrete as far as the eye can see. I'm out of my element.
You are in the concrete jungle. And last we have for the first time here on the Star Trek Prodigy podcast, but not the first time on Live Long, maybe the biggest fan of Star Trek Prodigy in the entire Live Long family. It's Chris Worldmind Murphy.
Is he?
Well, here, I'm alive. Yeah. I've resurrected from the timeline and the lost loops and whatnot. I've reached my hand out to Dr. Erin, and she pulled me from the depths. I'm here to talk about what is probably one of the best Star Trek properties that this franchise owns.
And little known too. We're gonna be breaking all this down. Although we did tell you, Murphy, you were dead to us both the previous podcasts. You didn't show up.
I meant it.
So, yeah, but you've been brought back from the dead.
It was another timeline. It was
another timeline, another reality.
That was mirror.
Been here the whole time.
Mirror
we
Murphy.
Didn't see him last night. I thought for sure he was dead.
That's true.
Like I said, this is a hard time loop to get out of. Here I am.
Yes. So just a quick warning. This is a spoilers warning up until episode 15. We won't be spoiling anything past 15. So we'll be breaking all that down and talking about all 5 of these episodes. But I always like to get kind of a general reaction to this next set. Starting with Jessica. How did you feel about these 5 episodes? Maybe.
So good. It was really good. And I was like, it just so happened that like my kids came home right when I watched episode 15, because if they hadn't, I would have watched the next one. Forget it. I would have jumped right in. But I was like, no, I can't go to the next one. It was really good. I agree with Murphy's assessment that this was definitely one of like the best Trek things I've ever seen.
I can relate, because I got to the end of that episode 15, and then I was like, I gotta go for a run. I can either go for a run or I can but I knew if I didn't go right then, I wouldn't get it in today. So, so that was my choice there. Davan, how are these 5 for you?
He's stun locked.
He thinks it's so great. He can't even. He's without words. But then we'll move to you, Murphy. And not just these 5, but maybe I know you're a big fan of this season and the show in general. But maybe your thoughts, overall.
Generally, I kind of find Prodigy has this ramping like success with the show. In the first 5 episodes, they feel sort of weak, not quite connected to the grander aspect. But by episode 10, you're like, this adventure is full-fledged. And then the last 10 episodes, just like pure art. It's just pure, just wonderful heart-tugging art. And like, the show is an excellent love letter to Voyager fans. And I was always a Voyager fan. Back in the day, it was my Star Trek of choice, and seeing these characters that and having these like connections and tie-ins be told in this way is fun. So yeah, the first 5 episodes, progressively it was like lower scale, and it just got higher, and then and it just. We're at the good stuff of this season. We're at the real good stuff. I love the introduction of Cetacean Ops, and I love the the hologram stuff that happened. I was enjoying. I especially enjoy Gwen's story. Like, I know Davin's not a big fan of it, but I'm a big fan of Gwen's storyline in this and where her arc takes her. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Cool. Thank you. And well, Davin, your connection is stable through the wormhole and into the proto-verse. Just talking about
I
these
moved
5.
15 feet to my left.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems to be doing the trick.
My guess is there were things in here you liked, and maybe a couple things you didn't like.
You know me well, sir.
Yeah, we got to
Must
be.
be the family connection.
Yes, it is. It's that psychic bond.
I agree with the first thing Murphy said. It does ramp up. Like, Prodigy starts. That's that's fine. But as far as the comment Murphy made about the last 10 episodes being pure, here's my one issue. I don't like when the Star Trek cliches are treated like cliches, or like having a Tribble episode and then a Mirror Universe episode. It's just like, okay, so we know it's our last season and we have to do all the creatures. We have to have a Tribble episode. We have to have a Mirror Universe episode. Like, those are like the two biggest cliches.
Right, Tribbles and Mirror Universe, and I guess what, like the tropes, is that
the tropes.
Tropes.
Better word.
Yeah.
I took it.
They want to check all the boxes in this last season.
I took it differently. I took this as like sparking the interest of like young Trek fans that have like no knowledge of any of this stuff, and they really like. I always loved like them like showing you like, look, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and like maybe go back and now you can see what the like inspiration for all these tropes are. Go back and you can see the Tribble episode in the original, or the Tribble episode in DS9, or whatever. Like.
Right.
Explore the whole mirror universe that they talk about, right?
Well, what happens when they go to find out about Tuvix and all the references to Tuvix in here?
Yeah, the Tuvix reference, that kills me.
Yeah.
Doesn't anyone see that this is wrong?
Yeah, that puts a whole. I was like, man, that's bold in
Justice
a Janeway-centric series to bring that up.
You want to go for your Talaxian Vulcan fusion cuisine, and
well, you can tell the creators were kind of like, we're gonna swing for the fences on this season. We're like, they did a lot of really good setup with season 1. Now that you're familiar with these new characters and all this stuff, they're just like, we're gonna really swing for the fences, get those deep cut references of Star Trek in here, because they probably weren't even certain if they would get a 3rd season or not at the time. So
yeah,
one thing I'd say with the show is this is the best Chakotay stuff we've ever gotten. This is more than he ever got to do
on Voyager.
Kind of. Like, he'd get a Chakotay episode every now and then, but they usually weren't very good. Not because of his fault, they were just like stupid stories usually. But
yeah, I'd say most of the Chakotay episodes are not particularly good.
Like the one where he's dreaming about boxing.
Yeah.
Like this Chakotay's moments were never really Chakotay.
The one called Tattoo, but that's like from season 2 of Voyager, stands out maybe. And there was that one where he was like partly assimilated by that ex-Borg colony. That's okay. And
well, I suppose like the best Chakotay stuff is the stuff with him and Cisco.
I like the stuff with when him and Janeway would really go like head to head against each other, like during the Borg stuff that would happen, or especially with the Equinox stuff. And everything, in that mix. But, there was some real heartwarming moments here, reminded me of those great Voyager days, with, of course, the reunion here of Janeway and Chakotay that we get later on. Well, Chakotay and the Doctor as well in these 5 episodes.
Now, I should say I liked the Tribble episode. I mean, you know my feelings about it. So I don't need to belabor that.
The Mirror Universe? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the whole episode.
No, it's not. And that episode. But to me, if they were just doing this like a brand or work of art story.
Speak up, sir.
Yeah, we can barely hear you. Can you check your mic source?
Yeah. Well, I don't have any sources. I'm on a cell phone. only one.
Well,
Yeah.
you're on your phone, but it might be trying to connect to your headphones as your mic source instead of your phone.
Oh.
We can hear you, but it's just it's a little more difficult. So
You sound like
Oh, my-
this.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Ah, that's so much
Hey,
better.
there you go.
hold on.
Okay.
It's-
Oh,
Ish.
boo. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see. This thing isn't letting me use my earphones as earphones and not a mic as well.
Ah,
It doesn't
Oh.
seem to allow me to use two things. So I don't need these.
Okay, so you're on speakers. Okay,
Yeah. Is it echoing now, or are we good?
I think we're okay. You know, we'll let
Yeah,
you
should
know.
be fine.
All right. So yeah, that's my thing. Like, it's like it seems like two sort of filler episodes back to back. If it was this like great grand kind of story that they're going for here in these last 10 episodes, like, that's just kind of a couple fillers in a row, and like, I don't know, it just was a bit disruptive. I did like the Tribble episode though. I thought that was pretty good, and I thought the
Tribble-
last flight of the Protostar was amazing. That was a great two-parter.
You like that two-parter?
Oh.
And the Tribble Called Quest was a pretty good one,
Yeah.
especially for the title of it all. Cracked Mirror, very similar to a Voyager episode that they already did. Didn't have any mirror universe in it, but there was, I think it was a Chakotay episode too, back then, where like it was like that was like
Shattered,
different
wasn't it? It was called?
Shattered, and it was different timelines, not different realities, but kind of like this similar thing where different decks and different rooms would have different.
It had that exact same imagery that they showed in this episode, though, with like the kind of like energy bolts going through the ship and splitting it into sort of different spectrum, sort of.
Yeah,
That it's like the exact same image. If you put them next to each other, I bet it's like almost the exact same. And so that was a cool little nod to a not great episode, but like still fun because I like Voyager. I'm with Murphy. Voyager's the most underrated Star Trek. It's good stuff.
it's pretty underrated. You know, just I don't think it's been as watched as much as some of the other ones. You know, so anyway, but and what about
one more thing I gotta get in before my phone messes us up. I don't care about Ascension. Does anyone care about Ascension? Or like feels the threat of Ascension? Or like, I don't know. I
well,
just don't care about the Gwyn stuff, I guess. But like, Ascension keeps coming back. I'm like, I don't care.
I'm like, can we just like take her out or something? Or you know, it's just like I'm kind of sick of Ascensia because she's such like an evil British villain. That, you know, and
her motivations do kind of get a little muddy. Like there's a point I'm just like, why is she so angry? What's her purpose at this
Yeah,
point?
what did Gwyn do to her?
right, yeah. There's not like, 'cause I think the Diviner was a more interesting villain in that you kind of understood why he became the way he became, and I guess the Ascensia basically has the same backstory, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's hard to like.
I think we're supposed to know that she's fresher because the Gwen's dad went back, like, I can't remember how long, 30 or 40 years he was looking, but she landed pretty much there in that moment. So like she's just fresh off of the Civil War and all of this like gusto. Like it's very fresh for her. Whereas for him, it had been like decades where he was trying to find this protostar. So she hadn't been there that long. So she's
Right.
kind of full on righteous in her cause kind of thing. It hasn't like worn her down over time. She's just she landed there and she's only been there a few months.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like, and we'll see what goes on in this next in episode 16, I suppose. I'm kind of, you know, but how did she capture Wesley Crusher? Is my other big question.
I did find interesting. That kind of pulled me into the episode. I'm like, I don't care about Ascensia. I don't care about this episode. And then I'm like, no.
Yeah. How did she get Wesley? What a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that was great.
That's not
We didn't
for
watch.
me.
Well, Murphy's seen it, but the rest of us haven't seen.
I'm going to pretend like
Right.
I haven't seen the remaining episodes, so I'm going to give you my initial actions. How the hell did she get Wesley Crusher? How did she get this time god, apparently? Like, what? Where was such a left field, like, surprise?
And it shouldn't have been, because it was kind of obvious that I was pretty sure we were going to see him again, because he obviously wasn't dead. And they even contacted Beverly and stuff. I'm like, no, they're going to clear this up. Like,
Yeah, I know. I thought we were going to see him again, but and I did want to talk to you all about Beverly Crusher coming in here. Her appearance in the I guess it's in the 3rd episode. Is that when we see her? But
The short haircut.
Short haircut. You know, she mentioned that. You know, they mentioned the Shinzon incident, referring to the events of Star Trek Nemesis, which would have been about 5 years before this. I know Janeway's in that movie, giving Picard the orders to go to Romulus, and but,
Janeway.
yeah, I did. So I guess like they met afterwards for tea or coffee. I don't know, but it's implied that Beverly Crusher and Janeway have met each other, and more so. This is the time period when Jack Crusher is born, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading that on people or Reddit, and apparently the writers actually spoke to the writers of Picard to like narrow down how old he might be, or if he was like kind of what his age is at this point in time.
He's either about to be born, or he's like it's right around the corner, because this is 2384, and the events of Star Trek Picard season 3 take place in like 2402, which is like 18 years after this, depending on how old Jack Crusher is supposed to be.
He's supposed to be. I think he'd be like 5. I think he's already born.
Yeah, he's already born
because they said he's supposed to be like 22, the oldest 22-year-old I've ever seen. But
right, yeah.
And in that,
and we said that.
I know he's like 40. He looks 40.
Yeah, he's definitely not 22, but
yeah. They even like sort of hint, like at least the way I gathered the way Beverly was talking, she was sort of hinting at the fact that she's not talking to any of the crew. Because they're like, oh, like say hi to Jean-Luc, and she's just like, yeah.
Yeah. I guess he's busy with the Romulan stuff,
and
but like, so that was good that like they kept all that consistent with the canon, and that they're trying to play all that in. But they're like, hey, Wesley Crusher made an appearance, and Beverly Crusher presumably would be somebody you'd want to let know about that. So I'd be curious if we see a Wesley and Beverly reunion. Don't spoil it for us, Murphy. But if that's
I hope so.
What are we talking?
Is it too much to ask
that? Kind of a cap on the whole series.
Is it too much to ask that this just upsets the timeline and Picard season 1, 2, and 3 just disappears?
Well, it's not too much to ask for with Star Trek, but the other thing too,
time,
season 3 alone, Jessica.
Yeah. The thing with also with West, the mention of Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis, in that wedding scene when Deanna and Will got married, we do see Wesley Crusher sitting there at the head table, in a Starfleet uniform, no less. That's never explained. He has no lines in the movie. There was a deleted scene in that movie that got taken out. So
it happened because Burton said he wouldn't do the movie unless they put Wesley in it.
Oh, LeVar Burton? Yeah. Because Rick Berman and Wesley or Will Wheaton, I guess. Yeah, not such friends.
So Berman was making sure that Wheaton wasn't in the movie, and Burton's like, well, you're putting him in the movie, or I'm not doing the movie.
No.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just gonna take it as like in his current Time Lord persona that he just showed up in a Starfleet uniform for funsies. That's
he just had one in the closet.
So.
He was invisible to everyone else. Like he was there, but only the viewers could see him, and no one in that room knew he was there. Because he can do that, I would assume.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you guys want to talk about these 5 episodes in more detail? We'll start here with the last flight of the Protostar, Part 1, which takes us to written by Diandra Pendleton Thompson. Anyway, so this is catching up here with Chakotay. We see it was at the end of the previous episode. We had seen Chakotay was on this beach here as the crew of the Protostar, or I don't know how to refer to them. The Prodigy kids found him, and there's this montage of Chakotay just living the life here on the beach or whatever. Scraping these fish eggs out. Because remember, Chakotay a vegetarian, but not a vegan.
So did anyone else initially think that he was on a beach and this was an ocean, or like me, did you think he was on some type of mountain and these were clouds?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, they sort of are clouds. Vapor.
Yeah, it's a vapor ocean. We find out
like high density vapor. Like if you were in a constant high pressure system.
I thought it was like fog that would clear at some point, and you would see the rest of the landscape. But It's like fish and citrus. I know those aren't like. Is that an actual thing that people eat in
It
the
is.
real world?
It's
Like
ceviche.
together?
Yeah, lemon on fish is the best.
No, fish like fish eggs.
Fish eggs.
Oh, fish
Fish-
eggs.
Fish eggs on like an orange.
Fish
Is-
eggs
or is
less,
that just-
that would be
less so.
disgusting.
That would be.
They put
I was
fish
like-
eggs on like sushi and stuff. You know.
I mean,
Yeah,
fish
yeah,
eggs
but
taste
I was like,
salt,
okay.
so it's like you're salting your orange.
Yeah, I was just
Right.
like, okay, is this a like just supposed to be weird alien food or like a reference to something he's putting?
Tastes like
together?
sulfur, according to Chakotay. So
You know, you could
like-
do worse though if you're stuck on some alien planet. You got friggin' fish roe and oranges, like, or an equivalent. You'd be healthy. You'd get a lot of good stuff out of it.
Yeah,
I bet you they taste closer to grapefruit.
Maybe. So this
I like
montage
this
goes on.
concept. This,
Yeah.
this high density fog ocean though, with like that has fish in it and stuff, but Chakotay won't eat them, and like that I found that was all very enjoyable.
Yeah, I was a big fan of his little like ecosystem that he managed to carve here in this like survival spot. He's like, well, I'm gonna be here for a while, and he, literally carves little figurines and like
There they are. All his dead
Of the
crew.
Dead crew. It's
all his dead crew.
Yeah,
a beak,
including
or a Obeek. What's his name?
Adreek.
Adreek.
Adreek,
That's-
yeah.
yeah, the Birdman. He's no more. We find out here. As
I want to see more of the Birdman. I like the Birdman.
Yeah, Adreek's a cool character. I was digging
Yeah.
that.
So, but just we find out it's 10 years, but the whole montage is really to convey like this the amount of time that he's on this place, and the he's just by himself for most of it until the
Hologram
crew of
Janeway.
Huh?
He
and
has
he's got
a
hologram Janeway. He does have that. So, but then the crew of the the Prodigy kids, they're like captured in a trap he's set here. So there's a whole meeting of them, and he's protecting the Protostar from them, and of course Janeway, hologram Janeway, doesn't remember meeting them because the timeline's been changed. So there's a lot going on here as they get to meet. But we see like basically Chakotay is a grumpy old man to start. Throughout most of this episode, he's bitter. He's lost all his crew, and he kind of
always was.
kind of always. Well, even more so now.
He's a recluse now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and now he's a 10-year older version of
You know what's-
Chakotay.
You know what's funny? Now remember that episode where him and Janeway were stuck on that planet together for like seemed like years or like a really long time. They built a house and everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chakotay wanted to stay there with her. That was his ideal life, like him in the woods with Janeway. And so it's kind of like he got what he wanted. It's him and hologram Janeway in the wilderness. Like,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he did get that life. Maybe this, but he's also on the other hand, he's okay with leaving here. Although he knows that there's kind of a responsibility. They talk about how Gwyn's gonna cease to exist unless they correct the timeline. There's all these temporal paradoxes and everything else going on here. Anyway, but Chakotay. Do you know what this really reminded me of? This whole opening of this episode was kind of like in Star Wars, The Last Jedi, when Rey shows up here with Luke. And Luke just throws the lightsaber away and says, "I don't care about any of that anymore." And then his heart is slowly thawed out by the power of love and youthful optimism in the next little bit. Of course, always referencing other franchises here on the Star Trek Prodigy
That's what it
podcast.
feels like. There always seems to be a little bit of a nod to something going on, for sure.
Yeah, it's either a nod, pay homage, or plagiarism. You can look at it however you want, but it's
the Tribble episode is a nod to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, as far as I'm concerned.
Attack of the Killer
That's actually a good
Tomato.
point. I didn't think about that.
Oh, I didn't think of that either.
They have their like weird fuzzy tomato, which is the Tribble. Like, it's exactly the same thing. It's basically just the Attack of the Killer Tomato.
Now I gotta watch that movie again.
Me too. We
Well,
gotta put
there's
that
a-
one on hold up actually, because that's weird.
There was a few times I've watched this and I was like, just like Back to the Future. Like there's a couple scenes like that have very Back to the Future vibes in this season.
In this run of episodes, I definitely felt like there's a little nod to like Indiana Jones at some point. Like, well, everything.
Timey
It warmed my
wimey.
heart a little bit that you remembered the Killer Tomatoes theme, Jessica.
It's burned in my brain. I might
Yeah,
not
me
remember
too.
where I put my keys, but I remember that.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
we see that Chakotay won't let them inside the ship, and he makes all the the cadets stay outside. But then this ion storm comes through, and they're getting kind of hammered here. And hologram Janeway is like, this isn't right. We should let them in.
They're
Like
not gonna survive with their shitty little camp.
they made their little tent out there, and
And they're like
Chakotay's
an ion storm.
yeah,
Like, no, they'll be fine.
they'll be
I've seen
fine.
worse.
But eventually he comes out and says, "Fine, you can come in, but don't touch my stuff or whatever." He's and then see Dal's quite defiant with Chakotay.
Still his ship.
Right? This is my ship, and Dal was like initially not going to come in until he has to come in because he's going to get killed.
This
So
line coming up is like one of my favorites from this run of episodes.
What's that?
I think it's coming up right now.
Uh,
I think when he's yelling at him, I'm going to take it for what it is. As mine personally as an addressing of the Picard season 1, but also in a way kind of Star Wars as well.
Let it rest, Jessica.
No, because he's like, is this what Starfleet raises their captains to be? Bitter old men that give up when stuff gets hard. And I was like, yeah, that's right, season 1 Picard. It's not. That's not Starfleet at all.
Good point, Jessica. Good point. We see it. I didn't know Chakotay ever wore a cowboy hat before, but he was like, he had this cowboy hat, like he tried to take a nap or whatever. And Dal got all, he's like, is this what you become, like bitter old men? And he's like, get out. And he tells hologram Janeway. Oh yeah, we see Jankum Pog touches the Birdman chess figure, which gets Chakotay even more grumpy.
He's gonna put the hat on because ion storms are really bright flashes, and he hasn't figured out the shutter effect on the windows.
Yeah.
I gotta love
Lower
Pog's commitment, Jankum Pog's commitment to those bird puns. He's like, where's the bird guy? I want to make more bird puns.
Jokes.
Oh, he's dead? Damn it.
Yeah, even Chakotay later on when he finds him dead, he's like, "Oh, my feathered friend," my silly feathered friend. But hologram Janeway kind of like tells them about how you got to give him some slack. He's lost his whole crew. He's going through a lot of grief and all this, and we even get to see some of those crewmen here in this photo. I guess they all died during this mission.
That this is kind of probably triggering for Chakotay because you remember that episode too, where he and B'Elanna find out that all the Maquis have been obliterated.
Right.
And, so he's lost his whole team before,
Oh yeah. It is a little crew here, Davan. You can see a Zindi Arboreal.
Oh, very cool.
Was part of the crew, and along with a Bolian, and it looks like an Andorian, and
there's
the Birdman.
always a Bolian.
It's with the Easter Island guy in the far right corner.
He's that. He's the guy with the arm in the middle of the chest. What do they call the lotions?
Oh yeah. Buddy from Lower Decks. Yeah.
And Star Trek the Animated Series, they had one of those guys.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they replaced Chekhov on that series.
Yeah. So there's all this kind of stuff, and then Gwyn's the one who rallies them here. He's like, "We're gonna fix a captain. We're gonna make him better." Show
him what Starfleet's about. Teamwork.
Right. So we see grumpy Chakotay is slowly warmed by the crew. We see Murph and Zero cleaning the windshield of the Protostar. We see, Zero's putting up the plaque again of the Protostar. The motto of the Protostar is, "It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves."
How do you feel about this ship, Dave? You getting any warm, fuzzy feelings for this ship yet?
I am. I'm starting to really connect with this ship, and the new Voyager as well. I think they're both. It's nice. So yeah, I'm feeling it. We see here Rock Talk is just gonna shake the tree because Chakotay always had to use a stick to get down those fruit, and now Rock Talk can just come along. When he goes to get catch more fish eggs, we see here Murph is catching so many more fish for him.
He's just swimming around in there.
Yeah. I guess these are vapor fish.
Vapor fish, yeah. Which I love that concept. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the baby eel. No, they have eggs, so they can't be babies. Never mind.
Yeah.
There's those big eels in there too.
big eels. Rock Talk is fixing up the vehicle thing that they have. You know, he
Which
says,
they
"Good
just
luck."
leave behind.
Dune
Anyone else
buggy.
notice that?
Well, there's
Just
no
take off-
indigenous life forms here, you know, so it's not going to necessarily have an effect. But yeah, Jankopog's got it under control. We see here Gwyn and Magel are, you know, getting the solar sail going again. They even get a Vulcan salute out of Chakotay, you know, before he goes back to being grumpy again. And yeah, like they're all getting it going here. And Dal goes off to, I don't know, get something, you know, pretty far away from the ship. Electric thing shocks him, but then this big worm thing comes out, and we don't quite know what's happened to Dal right away. Then the ion storms come through, and they all come inside. Chakotay looks worried about this ion storm.
It's the worst one I've seen yet.
Worst one I've seen in years. But Chakotay is not going to let Dal stay out there by himself. So Dal and Gwyn and Murph go off in the dune buggy that Jankopog fixed up.
I hope you fix that thing.
Jankopog was there too, and they go, "Why do we have Murph? Or why do we have this slime thing?" And he's like, "Security. We need him for security." So they head out to Dal's last known location. Eventually, they go down like this pit thing, and you know, it's quite the ride throughout all of this. At one point, they even lose their seatbelts, but don't worry, Murph's got them under control. Strap them back in. Security. He's like, I get it now. Security. We see these big eel things, but they're not going to try to eat you. Apparently, they only eat lighting, which is, you know, kind of them. Yeah, I'm kind of yada, but eventually they find Dal's signal, but they have to then continue on foot. They go through this little opening, and eventually they do find Dal, along with like this little transmitter thing that I guess Birdman had set up. Because you know, we just see Dal, who's seemingly fine, but you know, he's looking at the dead body of what's his name?
Adreek.
Adreek.
It's like a beak, but with a D.
Look at the beak on Adreek. Yeah, I should get more of that.
I'm a little confused. Okay, so like he's like, we can get off the planet, but I thought they deliberately stranded themselves here, or was that not deliberate? I'm just really confused as to.
I don't think it. Yeah. You know what? That's a good point. I believe it was somewhat deliberate, but they were trying to strand the ship, not themselves.
Right.
So maybe they just want.
And they needed power. Like they were eventually going to run out of all power without antimatter, right? They couldn't even keep Janeway turned on anymore. So, you know, but you know, at the time, Chakotay was, you know, of course, the superior officer. So he ordered Adreek not to. Adreek went off and did this anyway. And he seemingly got himself killed in the process. And we're not even quite sure how many years have gone by since he died or disappeared initially. But
long enough for him to become bone.
And long enough for him to become bone, exactly. Chakotay collects his comm badge and, you know, does an Akuchi Moya for him. And you know, and then he finds the antimatter, which is still ready to go, and he's like, "You did it! You were right. You were right the whole time." You know, it takes it back to the Protostar. And I'm yada in here, but eventually, after they have the little funeral here for Adreek, which is kind of a nice little send off, as they send him off into the vapor ocean.
Like very dark for a kids show.
Yeah.
Like a full-on body, like, oh.
Yeah, decomposing body. Yeah, and all that. There's you know, Adreek goes off into the sunset, literally. And that is the end of part 1. But they have the antimatter now.
They got the antimatter. They got the hope. It's funny because I kind of was like, oh, they're gonna use the ion storm or the eels or something to like this, again, this was like Back to the Future theory. They're gonna like, you know, have the lightning hit the ship and charge it up or whatever. That was my initial thought. They were going to use like the ion storm lightning to like recharge the ship. But then they went with like a little different, like, oh, we found the battery and they had to do it in this particular chamber because it was all the antimatter or whatever was coagulated and condensed into. I'm not a science guy, but you know, I do security. It's
yeah, gold shirt. I get. So it's but anyway, let's get into part 2 because you know these 2 episodes really do flow together. But this second part written by Alex Hansen and Aaron G.
I see what you did there.
Yes. So this episode starts off with Voyager, as we see that they're
Can't
they
see
get
no screens. There we are.
oh, whoops. Yeah. So part 2 with Voyager, they're repairing after that last battle with the Loom at the temple with Wesley Crusher. So they're coming out of that.
Which terrifying creatures. I just want to state, the Loom in concept are terrifying creatures and probably the most terrifying entity in Star Trek. I fully believe.
Because they eat your whole existence?
They just completely wipe out all of your existence, like it never happened, like you were never a thing. Like that was it. It's just
right.
And you, not just you, other versions of you.
Yeah, I find that also I felt like they could be, if this was done for like a darker show, I feel like they would look creepier, but I feel like they limited themselves on how creepy they wanted to make
how
them look
scary they were willing to take
it. Show, yeah. But
they
I
almost look like the Matrix robots from the like sequels, you know?
They do.
Yeah.
They look the Sentinels, as they're called.
Yeah, when they descend on the ship, because yeah, we were saying earlier, one of the ships kind of looked like the Nebuchadnezzar, and when they kind of descended on it, it looked like what was the ship that they took to get here in the first place? I forgot already. The Knowledge was eaten.
The Infinity, wasn't that what it was called?
The Infinity, there we go.
Infinity.
They did eat the ship, yeah.
Which looks like one of the drop ships from Starship Troopers.
Ah, yeah.
It does. It looks like a few things, but anyway, we see here Picardo. The doctor is helping Janeway's shoulder or something, physical therapy.
You had to do the old school way because their sonic rebuilder was broken or something.
Right. So this is the part in the episode where we have the call here between Janeway and Dr. Crusher, rocking a short haircut.
It's a post-breakup haircut.
That's a post-breakup haircut. Yeah,
she's full white hair, but she had a baby. Like she's in her 50s.
I feel like it's just like the bangs are white hair and the rest is like the orange sort of deal.
Okay, just a choice.
Yeah. She looks a little closer to how she looks in Picard than than how she looked in like Nemesis, which is only 5 years before this. But that's okay. It certainly sounded like her.
And a lot of their likenesses in this show aren't very good.
This one was I wouldn't know if you didn't tell me that was Beverly Crusher. Like obviously I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I guess I'd look that tired if I had a baby at 50.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in 5 years.
So she's talking about how she hasn't seen Wesley in years. That she's worried about him. Wishes she would make some time as a time traveler to come back and see his mother, but not so much. But he also calls she calls Janeway a mother-like figure because she's like, you're always worried about your kids there, and you got to be there for them when they come home. Right. So that's kind of like where that conversation ends. Although she doesn't really give them any information. It's just kind of nice to see Beverly Crusher in a sense. Anyway, so we see here that back on the planet with Chakotay and the Protostar and all the Prodigy kids, they are in the process of trying to get ready to take it on a run to, which we'll find eventually get the deuterium. But we see here Dal's getting logs for firewood, I guess, or something, and Chakotay's
he's gonna stick it in the engine so it starts up, right?
Right.
Like
Chakotay gets mad at him for like being so slow at it and stuff. He's like, "Can you do your work a little faster here?
Can you fix this faster? One and only engineer that's been here for 10 years. Can you turn that wrench just a little quicker?"
Yeah. Maybe we should go over the plan again, which is for us is the first time.
Sounded like for them it was the first time.
Felt
Didn't sound like any of them knew what was going on either.
Yeah, but it explains that they have the matter and the antimatter, which is pretty good to get the engines working again, but they're going to need deuterium as well, which they don't have right there, but it is on the planet. So their plan is to fly the ship sort of like a raft on the vapor ocean over towards
the deuterium storm.
Yeah, and get the Broussard collectors going and get all that deuterium so that they can get the whole engine thing running. I think I'm explaining that well. So mostly they're trying to turn the Protostar into sort of like a raft of sorts, here adding a rudder and different pieces to it as they're going.
See, if it wasn't for Strange New Worlds, I really wouldn't have had an entire concept of how that worked. Like refueling the engines and having to fly through deuterium and stuff like that, because there's that whole scene, I believe, in Strange New Worlds where they had to like fly through some form of galaxy to like refill the engines, basically. So I kind of, in my head, when they were going into this, I assumed it would be something similar.
Yeah, like I always thought deuterium was more of a
Davan, you're
liquid.
muted.
I was gonna say in an insurrection too, like Riker uses the ram scoop and picks up all that. Might have been deuterium gas in that too, and then he fires it out the back and lights it on fire.
Call that the Riker maneuver.
Yeah, the Riker maneuver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, if you remember like the Demon Planet episodes in Voyager, where deuterium seemed like it was more like a silver-like liquid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's a gas. I don't really know.
Maybe it could be in several forms. Could be temperature. Could be pressure.
Yeah.
Right. But
Maybe you got to turn the liquid deuterium into gas to like fire off whatever.
Right. We see here the one part where they're about to launch the Protostar out here, and it gets stuck on a rock, and Dal's like, "I'll just get it out of the way myself." And I think Majel says that's not logical, and Gwyn has just got such eyes here for Dal. I gotta tell you, she's so smitten with him, even when he's being an idiot. That's love. You got
just most of the time.
But that's my idiot out there.
Yeah, that's my fool.
Oh, I got some things to say about Dal here in a bit. I'll save it for now. I got some things to say.
I will admit they backpedaled a lot on Dal's character, considering everything that he went through in season 1. There was a lot of like missteps with his character in this season that I wasn't a big fan of. He just, but I also get why they did that, is to perpetuate the story, and I guess kid mentality, try and keep them invested and stuff like that. But it was a little annoying.
I felt the same, but I also felt like I did understand, like, he went through that journey when he was kind of calling the shots and there was just only hologram Janeway, and now this is more like him settling into, like, if you want to be part of Starfleet, then you have to deal with command. Like, that's
right.
Yeah.
Take
It's
orders.
a real Starfleet.
And I think he's kind of having to deal with his own irrelevance in that he's still a nobody.
Right.
So I feel like he's fighting really hard to not be a nobody, and especially after he saw his future. Yeah.
Right. Well,
It
he thinks that that's the skill that's his contribution, is to be the leader, and if he's not the leader, he doesn't know what to do, I guess, is kind of the point.
But that's not a skill. Like, that's like a combination of other skills. Like, it's like,
Yeah, well, he's misguided, of
So
course,
like,
great,
I
but
suck
really.
at everything, but I'll lead all the people that are good at stuff. That's like Donald Trump or something. Like,
Yeah, that was the only thing that they never pointed out to Dal, was just like,
is his right ear damaged?
yeah,
might be.
yeah.
Uh,
Look, right up Dal off completely now. Now he's hanging out with all the wrong kids at school. He's hanging out with the Nova Squad.
Well, we see here
boy, and then he started hanging out with Nova Squad. And
yeah,
then
Nick Locarno sent him on the wrong path. But we see here
Rom,
that
Lurian, he's gonna corrupt him. Gonna corrupt poor Dal.
it turns. Oh, we lost
Oh my god, he does have a chip in his right ear. Oh man, Davan,
Yeah.
he might be onto something.
Yeah.
I just feel like they could have emphasized a bit more. Like, it's not like he's like, oh, you're inherently defective and you can't be a leader. It's just like, just read a freaking book. That's what everyone's been telling you. You can be a leader. Just study a little bit.
Well,
Just
I think the
study,
point is,
kid.
it has to be earned too. That like that kind of stuff has to be earned, and that's kind of what Dal just wants to kind of skip ahead and just be that thing without earning
But
it.
that's kid mentality. Like, I can remember being that young and being like, screw education. I just want to be like the top dog.
I want to be this. I want to be that. I don't want
Yeah.
to go to school and whatever, or go through that boring stuff. And if any position is the most boring, it's probably command, because it requires you to like be so much more studious on so many more things, right? So we see here Dal almost gets them crashed into a mountain as they're flying the ship, right?
Yes.
Is that just because he doesn't know nautical terminology?
Port and starboard. It's like, okay, cool. When did we start sailing ships? Like, obviously they're sailing ships. But that's the other thing. It's like, why on top of it? Why weren't they just in the ship Could they not figure out some sort of steering combo from inside the ship? Could they not have done that?
I guess the idea was that it was just easier to coordinate on the top of it, like you would a normal sailing vessel, you know. And
sure, yeah, absolutely. Like I get the general reasoning as to why I do it, but the whole time I was like, I just feel like it'd be safer if they had worked some way to do this inside the ship, you know, like you've got all this retail space and you decide to build an upper deck so you can sail. Like I don't know. It was a weird choice, but like one that proved interesting.
They explained that they had to keep forward momentum, or they could actually sink down into the ocean, right? And so
okay. I must have missed that line then. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
they have to keep moving forward, otherwise they're gonna go down. I kind of like the idea of it. I could see, I don't know, maybe I read too much into this, but I always feel like they're trying to teach young Trekkies something, and they're kind of show them the inspiration behind like pretty much all of Trek is like they function essentially as a navy, so that's why.
Yeah. This is definitely reaching the roots of you know, exploration of ship exploration.
Retract the plank. No, it's remove the plank first. Number one. Anyway, so after that whole
swab the deck.
After that whole thing, Chakotay kind of says, "Dal, you're off the rudder duty. Go tie up ropes or something.
Yeah, coil some ropes.
Just coil some ropes." He's trying to find like the most unimportant task to assign to him now, and he's just like, "I coil some ropes or something."
Absolute faith lost.
What was going on? There was a moment there with Magil, I forget, but I'm going to skip ahead to this conversation with Chakotay and Dal, which I really did like, where Chakotay, he's kind of consoling him, saying like, "I'm sorry that you have a hard time taking orders, but this is kind of how it goes." And he said, he kind of explains that he was, like I said before, like I was the leader, and now I don't know how to contribute. I like Chakotay's speech; it's really good. He's like, you know what? You may never be the captain, or maybe you will, or whatever. But that's not really the point. He's like, he says when I was your age, I joined the Maquis. He was a little older than Dal when he joined the Maquis, but we'll forgive that. And he, kind of found. He says I didn't really find my purpose until I became the first officer of Voyager, and I was content to be that forever before becoming a captain in my own right. But I thought it was a really. I wish Chakotay would give me this speech because it was a pretty good one. I thought maybe one
it
of
was
the best
uplifting.
ones. Yeah, very uplifting.
It's good for kids too, because like I feel like so much of kid media, like especially like books and stuff, is like I'm the chosen one. I'm Harry Potter. I'm like the main person. I'm the most important person. This was a nice speech saying like you don't need to be the top of the ladder. You don't need to be the main person. You just do and be helpful and do what you can. That's good enough.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and it's more about like I think that's what I always love about Starfleet. Yes, the captain is like important, and maybe the focus of each Star Trek show, but that it's really about the ensemble and the team and the group, and really not about any one person. In that sense, and so that's what I thought was really strong in the message. And he's like, and right now, I need ropes coiled. That's that's what your contribution will be, right? Murph spots the cloud, and so we kind of get into the more epic part of this episode where they're trying to collect the deuterium as they're going into more of this storm-like thing.
If you feel it, chase it.
Yeah,
twisters, baby.
Yeah, so they have to all coordinate here. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, these lightning monster things.
Right, so basically this is where the storm gets rough and Dal ends up going overboard. And while he's like freaking out because he thinks he's about to die, the eels end up saving him, basically.
Right,
he chases Chakotay over the side because Chakotay falls first and then he goes to
Right. That's right, yeah.
Where is this? And he's kind of swimming in the...
Which was, again, this broke my brain because, like, how thick is this vapor that they can swim in it? Like, is the vapor on top and is the rest just ocean under the vapor? Like, a foggy cloud lake? Like, I could believe that. That's something my brain can wrap around. But the fact that it's so vapory that they're drowning, it's like... How
It
does that?
depends. It depends on
It's
on the density. I think I'm not a scientist either, but I believe that.
Yeah,
like,
we
you
lost
know,
our science officer.
I know. I believe that different gases can have different thicknesses. So as long as like you are less dense than the gas, then you would be buoyant on it.
I saw
Or
some people on Reddit hypothesizing that one of like Dell's advantages was that he was less dense or something. Some of the alien DNA he had is like makes him able to like move it better because he's less dense. I was
maybe
like, I don't know if that's true, but
Chakotay was sinking like a stone.
yeah, but Dell could swim around.
It was the rat tail. It sort of
Yeah,
just
kind
slowed
of.
him
It's
down.
like a rudder, really.
Yeah, right, like a fish.
Yeah, Chakotay goes overboard. I kind of had to skip to that because there was some action that happened before all that.
I think they were just saying, "Oh wow, it's a big one. This is a big storm. We're going in."
Yeah,
blah, blah,
typical
blah,
typical
blah.
ship riding a storm action.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dal dives in, and he has to actually like give up his tether to get a hold of Chakotay, but now there's no way to pull him up.
Just
But
like
good,
Tom Hanks.
yeah, good thing these electric eel things are going by, and he's able to grab onto one. And the eel's like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
What the heck is that thing?
Yeah,
It's because I feel okay. I'm gonna assume they recognize Chakotay as he was putting their children back or whatnot from after stealing a few eggs. They're
I'm
like,
just
well, he
eating
wasn't
the eggs.
totally killing us. He's just harvesting. Whatever.
just the unfertilized eggs. It's all
Yeah.
good. He's a vegetarian, not a vegan, Murphy. So he's got his own morals
It
about
would be
it.
pescatarian technically.
But it's eggs.
Fish, yeah.
Oh, well, I guess. Well, fish eggs. So I mean.
Yeah, it's not meat, I guess. Is
Yeah.
what-
Then I guess ovotarian would be the more correct term.
yeah. Anyway, so Chakotay's saved. Then they kind of go into the eye of this deuterium hurricane, and they start scooping up the deuterium, but then they really get like flipped around, and I think they get thrown over.
Oh yeah, they were turned upside down for a minute, and they were like, "Oh, how are we gonna fix this?" I kind of forget how they fixed that. I think it's literally just they got enough energy and drove themselves out.
Yeah, but eventually they get out, and they're back in space, and Chakotay very happy with Dal's performance here, kind of a celebratory moment as they're back here in space and ready to go.
I feel like this part fiddled a little because like every time they were on the planet, the ship looks so banged up and rusted and dirty, and they get into space and it's like it's clean now.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, they had to fly through the atmosphere, so all the shit burned off, and now it's good.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah. It's fine once it's not on a planet. Yeah, it's basically the point. And so they got a signal on Voyager, and they're going to head towards Voyager now, because it's 3,000 light years away, which is far, but not like Voyager was 70,000 light years away. So they're like 3 months away from Voyager, or something like that. Probably.
Yeah, but at like warp 9, that's like what, 3 hours?
It's more like it's probably more like 3 months to catch up, right? So without the proto drive, which is what they feel like. So they're like, you know what we're gonna do? We fixed a starship. We're gonna fix a star, make a new protostar, and get a new proto drive going on here.
Oh yeah, that was a cool line.
And that's sort of the end
was a
of
cool line.
that's the end of that particular episode. So we're moving. I don't know if Davin's coming back.
That's why,
We've lost
yeah. I guess he's maybe lost internet or. I feel like
Lost in the vapor ocean of
Oh, no.
Ontario.
to dive in again.
Yeah, he's in the vapor ocean.
See, though, I feel like I disagree with Davin saying this next episode is filler because I feel like they can't just off screen be like, yeah, we built a star. Like you have to do something to like earn the getting the star back. So.
And that's
Also,
a good
I like
segue.
this episode for introducing a Klingon scientist. I thought that was cool because I've been watching Star Trek for what feels like the past year now, and I can't say I've seen a lot of Klingon scientists on screen.
There are some. There's in Enterprise in particular. I can remember one, Ontak, who invented the augment virus that didn't go so well for all that. But yeah, like being a scientist does not bring glory and great respect. But they do have them.
He said that, but I thought that was weird. I'm like, you guys made it to space, so at some point you must have had scientists. if you.
Yeah,
if she
exactly. They
Worf.
must have had scientists at some point. Well, I heard an interesting theory that Worf is the one true Klingon, because if you actually look at Klingon society, they don't actually honor. They're always like, interpoliticking and like doing a bunch of like traitorous stuff, and there's not a lot of honor in actual Klingon society. But Worf is the one true Klingon because he grew up with all the mythology of what a Klingon is, so he took it to heart, and all of his honor and stuff like that is what it is, right? So yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting thought concept.
That sounds very like realistic too. I feel like this world, if someone were to read about our supposed ideals but be away from a lot of what goes on here with our politics, I feel like that would be true.
Right. So
Right.
it's interesting to see these other aspects of Klingon life other than just war hungry honor warriors, like just I like seeing that, because they're they're in space. There should be scientists, there should be Klingon engineers, there should be other aspects of Klingon life that are shown.
Absolutely. So hey, that's a good segue. Let's get into a Tribble called Quest, as written by Keith Sweet II.
Best title of all of these episodes in both seasons.
maybe the best of all Star Trek ever. I wanted this new creature, this what do they call it? I'm calling it like a gribble or something like that.
Gribble, yeah.
But I was like,
Gribble.
I think it should be called Quest just based on this title, but it wouldn't have made sense, I guess. So they left it out. But let's get into it. As we're in space here, it's a rock talk, a voiceover to start us off in this episode, talking about the science officer log, building a star. Your stars start off as clouds of gas, eventually compress and start to burn. And so we get a little science lesson to go through all of that and how a protostar.
Another aspect of what makes the show so great is that they introduce these little science lessons in very entertaining and beautiful ways, as opposed to general Star Trek, which yada yada's the science with science talk, and it doesn't really like go into too much explanation. But this being a kid's show, they're looking at it as an educational opportunity. So I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know it's good. It's all positive, and why knowledge and science is useful and cool and all those kinds of things. And that's why I really loved about Star Trek too. And I think that seeing more of that come out here. So they go to this planet because they're looking for a particular substance to get their proto drive thing going on here, and they come down to the surface, but it's a little spotty.
Dead.
Here.
Dead. It's just a dead surface. Everything's been eaten alive.
Yeah, everything's been eaten. And this is when Rock Talk finds the first Tribble.
She's the Tribble expert, as was explained earlier in the season.
Yeah. Although I think that they don't quite look I guess like this type of animation and hair and fur sometimes look a little weird.
They don't quite look like Tribbles. They're a little odd looking.
They look like little.
Like, I was gonna say, like, have you ever gotten like a McCain's chocolate cake?
Maybe, yeah, like little icing ribbons or something. I don't know.
The little things on top. Yeah.
But it's because I've seen behind the scenes of other animated stuff, and like when you get like that fluffy appearance, they literally do have to animate like each individual hair. So I think they're just like, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, we don't have the time or budget for that.
Well, that's sort of on style with the whole show. You can tell like a lot of the hair is blocky. There's not a lot of like fiber to a lot of the hair designs. So this is on par with the style of the show. Interesting, little.
Yeah, so we get a little lesson about Tribbles here. Chakotay says, they once brought the Klingon Empire to their knees.
Tell me, do they still sing songs of the great Tribble hunt?
They were an ecological menace. And Tribbles also don't like Klingons. They'll squeal and shout when they're there. But we see this one Tribble bites Rock Talk, and that's kind of out of character until they're sort of being chased by a giant huge Tribble who wants to eat them, and they have to kind of run away here. It
Yeah, this feels like a little Indiana Jones with the giant ball running.
Yeah, it's coming at them, and then they have to like hide under this cliff. They kind of like scale down Murph's arms here as they run away. Dal's trying to carry the transporter enhancers. We even see Zero gets run over here by the big triple ball.
I like that they start introducing Zero's sort of degrading body by making them get just like trampled and run over and like just doing things. It's like, oh god, oh no, not Zero. Like I dug Zero. I'm a big fan of Zero and their whole story arc. I'm a big fan of this addition to Zero's story arc where they get the body and they get to feel things and stuff like that. And I was a big fan of the style of their new body and the introduction of the, you know, celestial beings having corporeal bodies. I thought what a great concept. And I like what they do, but also don't like what they do with it because I want to see this form of Zero live on, you know.
Right. But it seems like it's going to. Well, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but this is the beginning of the degradation with Zero. So Zero goes back to the ship with Rock Talk, I think, or no, with Jankenpog. And so, and then they run into the Klingon scientist here, who, you know, he's saying something in Klingon, and they're like, "Anyone universal translators work?" And he goes, she says, "I think she said," he said, "Get off the planet or die," or something like that. But eventually, they kind of make friends with this Klingon guy, only to go back to his bird of prey, the smallest bird of prey I've ever seen of any bird of prey. This is like a shuttle-sized bird of prey almost.
It's like a chick of prey.
It's like a chick of prey. Yeah, it was like I'm like, can you even fit in that that forward section? Like it's just like
He's got to get on his hands and knees to like crawl through the neck of it.
Yeah, it's just like the small. It's like the runabout of bird of preys. But yeah, it's you know,
they don't invest in the science division on
Protos. No, they don't. Not as much. So we see here that he's a geneticist, that he was trying to invent a new way to make tribbles less to have less multiplication, I guess, in their breeding, and for them to be less hungry. You know, but it backfired. He ended up making them big monster tribbles. And so he's lost all his honor and he's no longer respected. So this has to be corrected. So Rock Talk says, I can do it. I can fix all this for you. A child can do my genetic research? How can this be?
Yeah,
But,
she's the Tribble expert at Starfleet Academy.
She is, you know. So eventually, the Klingon
Drops
guy,
the science on him.
you know, he kind of goes for this and said that they're eventually going to try to get at the material that they need for the proto drive, but it's right where like the Tribble's nest is. So they're going to have to like try to, you know, deliver this retrovirus that Rock Talk's going to make, go get the material and get, you know, hopefully this will all work. I'm back, Phoebe, in text form. Good to have you with us, Davan. We're on the Tribble episode, the Tribble called Quest. So we see here as Rock Talk is working on the virus. Rock Talk has kind of like a weird like sample here that gets contaminated or something in like a petri dish.
Yeah,
So
she like drops her dirty rag next to the petri dish, which it just contaminates everything. Which I'm like, that's very sloppy science work from you, Rock Talk. You're supposed to be better than this.
Well, she was working in a dirty lab, and so she tells us here. Meanwhile, back on the ship, on the Protostar, Zero's getting checked out by hologram Janeway, who says, you know, I can't really fix this. I can't really fix your degradations, like, you know. So
they roll, I guess. That's new.
Yeah. And then Jankenpog, I don't know, they're more here with the Jankenpog and Zero friendship, which, you know, hasn't been explored a ton, I think, so far. So that they're starting to do more of that in these last couple episodes. So kind of like that, you know. Jankenpog's like, well, we'll just make you know, if you can't have a body, we'll make you a new one, which is kind of where this is heading. Where I guess Zero's eventually going to get an artificial body. It seems to be where this is headed. Anyway, back on the planet. There's a whole scene here with Gwyn and I always want to call her Talin.
Majel.
Yeah.
Like Majel Barrett.
I know. And you know, I thought that like they're we can talk about their conversation, but you know, it's kind of like another friendship, another kind of cool moment. And from this standpoint, I don't mind the filler episodes because I think that they're important inter-character development that, you know, might not feel exciting as much, but is I think still important.
I feel
Well,
like
yeah,
it's-
this is good. Go ahead.
Oh, what? You go ahead. No.
I was just say this is Michelle just basically explaining how she always wanted to be like top of the class and stuff like that, and that's why she ended up in like Red Squadron,
Nova Squadron.
Nova Squadron. But yeah, that's kind of all I was going to say there. What were you going to go say, Jessica?
Oh, I was gonna say that I felt like I agree that I like these things because I felt like I feel like I was looking up the word for it. Hayao Miyazaki says like you can't have nonstop action, or even like I feel like that applies to plot too. You need time to like breathe and like let things sit for a bit. I don't remember
Yeah.
it calls it ma or something, but like you need those moments because otherwise it's too much going on and you don't really have time to take anything in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or really feel about it, right? So
Yeah.
other than maybe excitement. So then we see there's a whole ruckus here inside the bird of prey. There's like this thing going around in the dark. They can't find it. It's moving around to different corners, everywhere they're going. Where could it be? Where could it be? Eventually, like it gets under a bowl, which Dal like captures, and we get to meet this creature.
Tribble.
This Gribble. I don't even have a great shot of it. Sorry. Yeah, there you see it
Yeah.
for the first time, which is like, I guess, a combination. Yeah.
Was not a fan of this. I'm just gonna say that it's like a combination of Rock Talk and a Tribble. I get that. Maybe it's just another ploy to make some type of merchandise. Which I mean, you got Murph there. Make that merchandise. I don't need another Moopsie.
Yeah, this felt really weird to me because it felt very much like let's make more merchandising. I'm like, but you haven't even made any other merchandise yet.
There's
Is
still
it-
a core character line.
Like, oh my god, give us.
I don't know if it was like a merchandising thing or it's like they just want a cute, cuddly character, for the kids to like. Kids like cats and stuff.
I guess because Murph is like, Rock Talk can't really like aw and pet anything. Murph is grown up now, left the nest, no
Right,
longer.
Rock Talk's not all about this creature right away. She sees it as a mistake, an error in her science, and she's ashamed for a little while. Even though Rock Talk normally loves everything cute and cuddly.
It's most young adults that become parents suddenly.
Yeah,
This was a mistake.
I have a feeling Jane will like this thing when she sees this episode. She likes anything cute too.
I think, yeah, I feel like this is kind of addressing Rock Talk's perfectionism in a way.
Mhm.
So she's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
too hard on herself.
Yeah, it's like this is the realization of not being a perfectionist, and you can get over it, and you can nurture it.
Right. Sometimes there's happy mistakes, I guess. So is also the idea.
Yeah, that is a continuous theme after this point.
Right. So they go down here. There's the whole action sort of for the third act here as like, Gwyn and Dal like go down into the nest to try to get the transporter enhancers going. The Tribbles eventually, kind of converge on them. And just when they're about to beam things out, like I think the Tribbles disrupt that somehow. They were
One just lands on them, yeah. Just like a big giant Tribble there, yeah. There it
lands
is.
on them and screws it all up and all that. So the whole plan kind of comes apart here, and then they have to go and save them, basically, Gwyn and Dal, right? With the Klingon guy kind of, begrudging this. My favorite line was when they the Klingon guy shot the Tribble, and he's like, I don't think that stun setting's gonna make them feel anything. He's like, it was not on stun.
It was not on stun.
It's not a stun setting. Don't worry. These Tribbles can take a kill shot and survive it. Yeah, so they kind of get all like cornered here by these Tribbles, these killer Tribbles, and the Klingon guy, he's about to blow them all up, I think, or something. Like,
yeah, he's about to just like completely like, screw it all. I'll die with honor. We'll all die together. It's like wait,
He's just gonna pull the pin on the grenade and let them blow up or something. And I think it's Rock Talk who stops them, and she goes, "No, there's always a better way." And eventually
mistakes.
They have to tackle him to the ground and take his gun and throw it away and stuff like that. So there's the whole thing here. But again, they're surrounded by Tribbles, but it turns out that happy mistake, the Gribble, is going to be the answer to all their things, because apparently
The bridge of communicators.
the Bribble, I think.
Bribble,
Right?
Bribble, right?
Bribble,
Bribble,
because
yeah, it's called a Bribble.
because Rock Talk's upper Curie, right? Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bribble.
Bribble.
Anyway, so they communicate here with the Tribbles, and everything's great, and Klingon guy's got his honor back, and everything's good. So they get their Protostar drive going. They come back here. We see Zero welcomes them back. Even Klingon guy's happy. He's got his stuff going. He can get his
honors back.
His
homework's done.
His homework is done. He leaves, and they get the proto drive going again here. Put the special glasses on. Kind of a nice moment when they get it kind of going here. So there's a real time here, I guess, you have for Chakotay to bond with these guys, right? You know, in these 3 episodes, or over all this stuff, and them kind of coming together as a team and a crew. It's nice. It's cool. I agree with Davan that this is some of the best Chakotay stuff. You know, in it, more so than even what he got to do on Voyager, which definitely he featured heavily in as the first officer of that show. But anyway, so that's episode 13. So now we go into episode 14. We're getting there, everybody. As we're gonna run all through these. So this next one was called Cracked Mirror. You know, what could happen in the Cracked Mirror?
What could happen in this episode? Davin's favorite type of Star Trek episodes. Mirror episodes.
And I maybe I like the Mirror Universe too much. I don't know, but I don't mind a good Mirror Universe episode, or even a bad one. So they're on the proto drive. They're going super fast. They're heading towards Voyager, and we see Gwyn's armband is kind of going off here as they go here. There's kind of a moment, and they kind of rendezvous here with Voyager. We see how much bigger Voyager is than the Protostar. Knowing that.
Yeah, I like these shots of them side by side. Although I feel like the perspective changed here and there sometimes.
Yeah, it was kind of like, sometimes the Protostar was really tiny, and sometimes it got a lot bigger. But, this is the exciting moment here where, Chakotay is like, I get to see Captain Janeway again, and he's actually shaved. He's down, he's showing the baby face.
I love the scene because I was like, Dal is a Janeway Chakotay shipper. He's like, I think you're ready to enter her ready room. Like, that
was a good line, Yeah. He goes, am I trying too hard? Hologram Janeway's like, that's never a bad thing. I don't know. Like, I think I definitely would prefer if you said like Chakotay and Janeway ended up together more so than like Chakotay and 7 of 9, which is what they were trying to push, at the end of Voyager.
I feel like they just pretended that like
never happened.
Picard was like, nope, that's not. Nope, I don't know what that was. That's
never. Let's pretend that's never been a thing. It never was, But I never thought.
Michael was questioning. He's like 10 years on that planet, thinking he was never going anywhere with Hologram Janeway. He's like, what happened with him and Hologram Janeway? Michael.
It was 7 of 9's kiss with Chakotay that made her gay.
Maybe. Anyway, so then Hologram Janeway's left to take care of the Bribble with the laser pointer finger. I might be getting more enjoyment out of this than Bribble. Anyway.
It's a children's show, Michael.
Jessica rocks. Chakotay totally boinked that hologram. Maybe.
I was thinking the same thing. I bet you he got a couple strip shows.
So Michael was like, wait, she's a hologram. Can she touch things? And I was like, I think so. And he's like,
Yeah. Well, and Javan brought up that episode where they were stuck on the planet together. It's like season 1 or 2 of Voyager, and they don't really ever pursue the romantically after that episode. But it's not the worst either. Anyway, so they beam over to Voyager. They meet up with the Doctor, who's happy to see Chakotay. We sort of get this whole Chakotay, Doctor reunion. Although I thought, are you two not gonna hug?
That's what I thought. I was like, boo.
Yeah, we got of course Robert Beltran and Robert Picardo here. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to clue into the fact that 3 members of the Voyager cast were named Robert. Including Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris.
Oh my god!
Right, Rob. Anyway, so then the Admiral's gonna be so happy to see you, but then we find out it's Admiral Jellicoe, who's in command of Voyager, and we're like, what the hell is going on here?
Am I
You
the
know?
only one who thinks of cats when I hear that name? I had to look
Jellicoe?
it up, and I was like, oh no, they're Jellicle cats.
He's a Jellicle cat. That's right. You know, Mr. Mistopheles. But Janeway's dead. We find out Janeway and Commander Tysus and the counselor, the Tellarite counselor guy, Jason Alexander, he's dead too. And that's official logs. But they're like, this can't be right. We know that they didn't take the Infinity, and they're kind of like, well, let's kind of go to sickbay and try to figure this out. So they go into the turbo lift, and I guess, the doctor's just going to meet them there. That's why he doesn't go into the turbo lift. And they can't all fit. So Rock Talk and Zero stay behind. So they kind of get separated. And in the process of going through the turbo lift, we see her Gwyn's gets her temporal stability gets questioned. And when they come out of the turbo lift, like we see the Voyager's completely disheveled. It's been broken. It looks like it's been all wrecked and everything else here. And who do we run into? The outrageous Okona.
What a great comeback.
Another one of Davin's favorite characters, by the way, in all of Star Trek. So,
I like how they this episode was fun because I like how they were introducing it in the sense that like they just kind of showed up and they're like, wait, why is the ship abandoned? Why are you here, guy? Like, what's going on? And it started like splintering throughout the episode.
Yeah, well, what we find. So before we get to the whole stuff with the Rock Talk and Zero, what we'll come to find out is that this is a reality where that Protostar virus from season 1 succeeded and kind of destroyed Starfleet and kind of wrecked everything. So Thadian Okona is here, just kind of like salvaging whatever he can from the wreck of Voyager, looting it. Yeah, basically. And then we see here that Rock Talk and Zero, they end up back. What are these guys called again?
The Enterprisians.
The Enterprisians, yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, well, Captain Tuvix
yeah.
will be happy to see you."
Oh my god, oh god, this episode has.
Are they gonna show Captain Tuvix? I was so excited to see a Captain Tuvix.
Yeah, me too. Well, yeah, we never get to.
I love that conveniently didn't want to animate that.
Yeah, we're not gonna go there. But yeah, as they're kind of like back in the mess hall, we hear Chakotay and the rest of them are kind of like talking about the situation they're in. That I guess it takes them a while to kind of put it all together, but eventually they see this shattered anomaly thing through the window. I think Murph's the one who figures it out, and that the Voyager is kind of like shattered, and very much like that the Voyager episode Shattered. Where
this is a cool video or visual, I should say, not video but visual. This is a cool visual. I think this is really cool.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, it's fine. Even though it's kind of been done before, but all cool. And so they got to try. They know that every section they go through is going to not only harm Gwyn, but is also potentially going to be even more dangerous reality. Because they don't really know what to expect, but they have to kind of try to proceed to the bridge, I guess, is what their plan is. So I'm kind of yada in here. But
I admittedly kind of forget how this episode went. Like Evan said, this episode was a bit of a clunker.
Oh my god, this episode made me laugh.
I don't mind this episode, but I can't help. But Davan, you have to admit, like Okona's here, the mirror universe. Like, come on, you don't like, so right there. All these things.
Go to the hologram Janeway. I want to touch the bone of my ancestors.
My ancestors. We are far from the bone of my ancestors. Anyway, so Okona kind of wishes them luck as he kind of parts company with them here. He was always kind of meant to be like a less antagonistic Harry Mudd, I guess, is sort of what his role is.
I feel like I was looking up this episode on Reddit, and it's so happened in the fall. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I think he was in the exact same episode sequence, like order in season 1. I think it was also episode 14.
Yeah, that could be right. Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, he helps them beam out here. I guess they go use the transporter room and try to beam to the next room, which they do.
Thought was really naive of them. I was like, "Can I trust this guy?" Like, I was just hitting a button, but
yeah, I don't think it's his fault. Gwyn's hurt, but. When I saw everything was in red, I was like, "Oh, this is different." And then where are they? The Mirror Universe with Mirror Chakotay and Mirror Janeway, who's partly assimilated, just like she is in like Star Trek Online. So I was like, oh, that's some interesting stuff here. Mirror, what's that on your face? You know how you know, Chakotay just shaved off the beard. You know, if he had just left that beard on for one more day, you know, he could have impersonated his mirror universe counterpart a little bit more effectively.
Well, he came up with a
He came up with a workaround. Yeah.
Workaround, yeah.
I just love that like Mirror Universe operates essentially like a telenovela. She's like, I'm an evil twin with a goatee.
Yeah. Even the whales are evil.
That was my. I want that on a
was a good
shirt.
part.
That was my favorite line in like all of Star Trek.
Even the
Good.
whales are evil.
Even
Got
the
a
whales.
scar.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Jessica, for you, I will make that a shirt.
Oh please! Oh my god!
I gotta tell you, I like these Mirror Universe uniforms that we're getting in this episode too. They thought they were pretty good.
I feel like Mirror Universe is always like this, right? Like they have an arm fetish or something. Like they're
an
always...
arm and a midriff fetish.
Yeah, like they're always showing off their arms.
Yeah. They like to wear like gloves and you know, and I don't know, they like to look tough, I guess, is you know what
Like pro wrestlers.
Yeah, they got like a pro wrestler vibe to them, or like a Roman Empire thing or something. Anyway, so Chakotay is like left to like torture them by Janeway, you know, and get information out of them.
There's another great line here. It's like you're going to throw you in the agonizer. It's like,
oh yeah,
the mean machine taken.
Jacob's like, was mean machine taken? Yeah, he makes fun of the name of it. And then he's like, who am I going to throw in the agonizer first? He decides on Murph, the cute one, you know, and he totally like gets Mirror Chakotay here and totally like beats the hell out of him.
Yeah,
and,
Jacob was like, oh no, not Murph. Oh, anyone but Murph.
Yeah, and proper Chakotay, prime Chakotay says it's always the cute ones you least suspect or something like that.
What can I say? We're terribly cute and terribly dangerous.
They throw Mirror Chakotay into prime Chakotay's uniform and vice versa. But yeah, now Mirror Chakotay has no beard, so they put some like axle grease or something on so that he can impersonate. And then Murph puts it on too to get into the spirit of everything here.
A small part of me wishes it was mutton chops, but you know, I get it. Goatees are evil.
Goatees are more evil.
This part is so good too. I love Murph. They're just like, okay, as you were, and then Murph's just like,
yeah, like he salutes like the Terrans. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, going. Like that was good. That was funny.
And they're just like, yeah, sure, makes sense. Okay,
yeah, sure.
Just keep going.
Then they run into Mirror Janeway, and she's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Oh, well, I broke them pretty easily, and now it's all good." And you know, but she gets pretty suspicious of them here. Don't you trust your first officer? I always trust my first officer, but you're not him. And
of course not. Look at how close he was to her face. Of course she's gonna notice he's got grease paint on his chin.
This guy just has grease painted on his face. I don't know, but these mirror types, you know, they're a little dumb. So we can see here that the Terran Empire in canon is back. Because if you remember in Deep Space Nine, the Terran Empire had been conquered by the Klingon Cardassian alliance and all that, but just like in Star Trek Online, it seems to have resurged here in the later part of the 21st century.
Yeah, there was much discussion about that on Reddit and whether people liked that or not, because it felt the DS9 stuff was a bit futile, and some people were like, in my head canon, it's just a different mirror universe. This is a alternate.
No, I don't think so. Like, well, that's my head canon, is that which kind of matches up with Star Trek Online, which is like the mirror universe kind of comes back, or the Terran Empire kind of comes back after they defeat the Klingon Cardassian alliance, and they kind of go back to their evil ways.
That's what I probably imagined, because I mean, he did say not a mirror universe; he said the mirror universe.
The mirror universe. It's not a mirror universe, yeah. But you know, just like
evil whales.
Evil whales. Oh, where's Cetacean Ops? Long live the Empire, says the whale. You know.
Wait, what was
I mean, they are Terran.
They are from Terran. Yeah.
Jillian,
So maybe like the whales do have a higher status in the hierarchy of the Empire than you know.
I read something that Prime Universe Jillian is actually the child offspring of the two whales that were rescued from the
Gracie and George.
Yeah, Gracie and George. Jillian's the daughter of Gracie and George.
That makes sense.
Because whales live pretty long lives, right?
Dr.
So
Jillian Taylor. I
would
guess
make
so.
sense.
Like, and they're humpback whales. Computer, how long do humpback whales live?
I think at least 100 years. That's my kid's obsessed with
55 to 60 years is
That's
roughly.
it.
That's
Wow.
how. So
Other ones live longer.
more likely the granddaughter of George.
Yeah.
Great granddaughter or something to that degree. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, yeah. So
Someone-
then,
Someone was going back to the whales. Was like, okay, so in the Terran universe, did like evil Kirk also have to go back in time to save the whales? And like, what kind of Voyage Home movie would come out like a Terran Voyage Home?
They had to save killer whales instead of humpback whales.
yeah, they need the killer whales to kill something. Yeah, it would just be more bloody and more evil. And even the whales are evil. Even the whales. Yeah, that's right.
Whales are evil.
So,
Oh my god.
It's like Free Willy, but with more murder.
yeah. They eventually they get away from Janeway at one point. They come to the bridge. Chakotay pretending to be his mirror counterpart, and then I don't know, like they take over the ship. Then the loom show up, and are all gonna eat them up. They're here.
I want a loom tattoo.
You want a loom
I
tattoo?
think there's such a cool concept.
Yeah,
the
like, I
sound
feel
they
like
make is great too.
I'd be interested
Creepy.
to see if we get more with that. Yeah, because they kind of
I
remind
would
me of the time.
love that. I would love to see an IRL adaptation of the loom show up. Like, give me a Strange New Worlds episode where the loom show up.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I feel like they'll be a lot creepier in a more
Realistic
adult,
sense.
realistic
Yeah,
setting.
they seem like they're the time race though, Murphy, like from the Flash.
Yes, you're right. They're pretty. I remember watching last week's episode and you'd mentioned that, and I was like, yeah, pretty much. But they're cooler looking than the
There's-
time race because
there's
they
more of
just
them.
look. They just look like the ghostly figures from Lord of the Rings that were, which ones I'm talking about, that like chased after the ring. That's what the time race in the Flash reminded me of. The loom again looks like the Matrix, but like I don't think did they completely erase your existence in the Flash?
No,
No.
They didn't restrict your backstory. They would just kind of kill you, basically.
Yeah, you were just gone from that point on.
Yeah.
I think the addition of them completely erasing your existence is just horrifying. It's a horrifying thought. I
Right,
think it's
well,
a horrifying
The
thought.
closest thing is the crack from Doctor Who. I think was like that.
Well, there was the
crack.
Krenim too. As you remember in the Year of Hell episode in Voyager, the Krenim had that time ship weapon that could like erase entire planets from existence in history,
Mm.
an entire species, right? They were using it as like a genocidal weapon, effectively. And so yeah, like this is so there's precedent for it existing in the Star Trek universe, I guess, too, for this kind of thing. But anyway, they end up forming an alliance here with Mirror, Janeway, and Chakotay because the loom are about to eat them all, and they have to work together. And Mirror,
The enemy of thy
Janeway
enemy.
says we're not friends. This doesn't mean we're friends or anything. We even get to see the Mirror Voyager, ISS Voyager A, meaning there was another Voyager before this as well in the Mirror universe.
It's more red to it.
More red. It's more red, and it's got more weapons. That's the big differences there. Did they go to the Delta Quadrant as well? Like, you got to wonder, right?
Oh, that's a good question. What does Mirror Delta Quadrant look like?
Yeah.
all the
what does
what's
Mirror Neelix look like?
Yeah. What's Mirror
Mirror Neelix?
Mirror
What's the-
Neelix? Mirror
What was
Cass?
the species they introduced in the previous episodes? The
Kazons.
The Kazons, yeah. What are the Mirror Kazons like? Are they more like organized and nicer?
They're actually good. They're actually entertaining and you compelling. So that's why they're the complete opposite of the real Kazon. Anyway, so they get away from the loom just in time by working with the Mirror people, and then they beam over into the Prime Voyager. Now the Doctor's there, and they get this, the reunion they didn't get before, but now Chakotay is dressed like a Mirror Universe guy with some grease on his face. But then we get the final moment where she sees Chakotay, Janeway and Chakotay reunited here, and it's a heartfelt moment. What's on your face? We get the hugs and all that. It was nice. I thought it was nice.
This is big payoff for Voyager fans.
Oh yeah, for
This
sure.
is awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Healing moment.
Real healing moment, you know, and you see like Dal and Gwyn are happy for them too, kind of like the rest of the fans, and you know, it was nice. And then they're heading home. Like the two ships are now heading back. So that kind of that's the end of that episode. One more, right?
Unamas.
One more. Let's talk about Ascension Part 1 with Ascensia. Episode 15.
Oh. That's your background, not the episode. There we go.
Was they showing? Was I actually still sharing? Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ascension Part 1, apparently written by a fleet of people. 5 writers. I didn't even know you could have 5 writers on a 22-minute
Aaron
script.
McNamara, Jennifer Moreau, Deandra Pendleton Thompson again. Well, they probably had to probably reach back and this episode is probably intertwining a lot of the stuff that they wrote earlier in this season, so they probably had to connect everybody on this one.
Yeah, it's a bit unusual, but it's not the first time they've done it, you know, where they've credited this. Like, it's basically almost the entire writing staff is credited here. So
I've been following Aaron J. Waukee on Twitter. I've been hoping he'll read one of my Twitter messages about an interview or a first contact here.
That would be nice. I would love to talk to somebody from this show at one point. But anyway, so then in this episode, we kind of pick up where we left off with Voyager and the Protostar going along. We see here the Nova Squadron kids are getting ready for their simulation. Cetacean Ops. We see Rock Talk, Murph, and Gribble going along. We see the Zero with the Doctor. Gwyn and Dal in the mess hall. Also, again, watching more Chakotay and Janeway make googly eyes at each other, maybe. I don't know.
You're sitting awful close together.
They are sitting on the same side of the table, yeah. And we got hologram Janeway drinking coffee and working on the drive. Or are they looking? Are they taking out
binars?
Are they taking out the construct thing? Is that what they're also doing?
Yeah. They're working on the antivirus for the thing because they said that we've nullified it so it doesn't actually put a threat to. But again,
Hey, how does that not change the timeline, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what
exactly. Doesn't it have to be on the ship when you send it back? Or
yeah, doesn't the series of events have to happen for them? But I think they're also. Yeah, I don't know. I think they put an antivirus on it in case. I can't quite remember.
Well, they can't have it attacking Voyager, but I don't know. So anyway, and
then we go back. It's still active right now. So if it made contact with Voyager, it would start the whole process all over again.
Yeah, so maybe they just put a firewall on it and then be like, okay, it'll stay confined in the ship until the actual canon moments happen.
Well, I guess now that they know about it too, it's a little different. But we see this battle simulation in the holodeck with the Nova Squadron, and they're going along. Flying their little ships, opening the intake valves and whatever. But then, Dal shows up, and it's kind of like an interesting holodeck transition here as they're upside down and flying their ships, starting without them.
I like how they ended program and they slowly floated down.
Yeah,
the computer just didn't drop them on their heads. It's okay, safety protocols.
That was smart. And we see here, a couple of the even though Magell has kind of warmed up with the Prodigy crew, the other Nova Squadron haven't quite, come as far.
They have their doubts. Yeah, Magell's separating from these guys.
Yeah, and she's like, I should give them a shot. She had invited Dal to the simulation to fly with them, and which will come important later on. But they're begrudgingly accepting them, sort of slowly here. And then we get that whole scene here with Zero and the Doctor, where the Doctor, is talking about their condition, and that maybe forming an artificial body would be.
Yeah, they basically we'll give you a carbon copy of the body you have. It won't quite be the same, but with today's modern technology, you'll basically have a Picard body,
like a biosynthetic, basically.
Yeah.
But I couldn't read through. Were they kind of saying was Zero saying they could then choose their form rather than just the one they were given? Is that I felt like they were saying, I can choose what I will be or what I will look like.
I think they were implying that a bit. Whether they choose to do that or not, I guess will remain to be seen.
Yeah, I liked this a lot. I felt like, not to take anything away from Discovery and just kind of Discovery, I don't know, there's no teaching in Discovery. It's kind of just the presence of like very underrepresented groups. But like this felt like more of like a good moment, which is what Star Trek is good at, is like putting these current concepts into like a sci-fi setting to kind of teach kids about like
Transitioning
feelings.
isn't a foreign concept. It's been around for a long time. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. Like I just like it's not like it's just a nice sci-fi packaging of the like teaching kids about it, which I think Star Trek can do very well, which I like a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
agreed. I was in my brain. I'm envisioning they'll have a similar body, but just blue. You know.
Yeah, like subtle change, because I feel like I don't know if you can go. I just from a TV perspective, changing their look that many times seems like a lot for the animators and just for continuity's sake. But yeah.
We got a whole scene afterwards here too, where Janeway's giving Chakotay a new comp edge. Get the
Updated,
new one.
you know.
They even reference the events of the finale of Voyager, where the future Janeway came back and she was wearing this uniform, and now this Janeway is like kind of caught up, not quite to that timeline, but
I would just like to say, if they do have a season 3, I would like for them to implement a story where this Janeway ends up having to go back and do the events in Voyager. She's kind of written out for the first like 2 to 3 quarters of season 3, and we get like either, ideally maybe a Cisco or a Picard to kind of step in that place of what Janeway does, and then she comes back and ultimately saves whatever storyline arc they do. If we get a season 3, fingers crossed, save Star Trek Prodigy.
We'll see.
I hope so.
But yeah, it was kind of neat for them to reference those things, and it made me wonder. I'm like, is that going to come back into play here, or are we going to get more of that? We then get a briefing here with Jellicoe, our favorite admiral.
I just want to say I love the use of Jellicoe in this season. Like
he's like I like how he's like Vice Admiral. I'm an admiral. You're just like she's one rank lower, but he treats her like any other captain, basically. Like, you're too close to this. Come back. We're gonna get the bureaucracy involved. I'm like, you suck.
He's the perfect character to be that guy.
Oh yeah, because the adult, anyone who remembers him from back then is like, Jellicoe, Jellicoe's got a Jellicoe.
I really liked this sequence right now. Like, I really, really liked what happened right now. It almost kind of felt like that Lower Decks episode where Mariner was like, no, we can't trust Starfleet to make the right decision about my mom. And then they were like, oh no, Starfleet, we're Starfleet. Of course we made the right decision. Like,
we always make the right decision. But Chakotay and Tysus convinced Janeway, no, let's not go rogue. Let's just go back to Earth and like see if we get temporal investigations involved, and they'll see if they can help. So they kind of resign themselves to that the mission's kind of over, and that they're gonna head back.
And even Dal was like, like, we did a lot, we did enough, we did our part. Let someone else do their part. Like, this is above our pay grade now, and we did enough. Which I was like, good job. I'm so proud of them.
But just then, Gwyn gets called to the bridge, and guess who's on the phone? The younger version.
Papa.
It's the diviner before he's the diviner. My progeny.
Okay, I want to gauge your guys' feelings, because I know it's been up and down with the Gwen storyline and the diviner and stuff. But at this moment in time, how do you guys feel about the character of the diviner?
I don't need a ton of them in the show, I guess is how I mostly feel. Like, it's fine when he comes in and out, but I don't need him in every episode, that's for sure. So it's
Jessica, what are your thoughts?
I feel like, I don't know. I wonder if I wondered if they were going to come back to it, like, or was that moment in the cave where he's like, I'm putting you first, I came back for you. That was his kind of little bit of an arc, and that was it. But it also is kind of curious to me, because like, where, if this is the diviner that goes back, like, so Gwen can exist, he was already pretty altered by this. So how does he turn into what he turns into?
Because you're right. It's not just enough that they send the Protostar back to the past, but doesn't he have to go back as well? Like,
Yeah,
Well,
like
like the whole society in which they're living in technically has to fall apart and become like a barren wasteland of what they are for him to,
to have that motivation and like
Yeah.
a lot of things have to fall into place here to preserve this timeline. Anyway, so that's confusing. But then we get like sort of this has been interrupted by your local Ascension, who is taken over. Oh, thank you for the gift of your heirloom, which I have now made my own.
Okay, so I wasn't here for the one, but I want to say the moment the show really like hooked me was the Ascension sort of battle between Essentia and Gwen and how they had to like get to the top and all that stuff. That was the moment the season really hooked me. Everything else up to that was like, where are they going? What are we doing? Kind of but that was the moment it started lifting.
As I recall, Davan and Jessica were like, by the whole fight, and
Davan
Yeah, I
didn't
know.
like it. I was okay with it. I mean, my only problem was my only problem with that fight was that she announced to Ascensia what she was about to do. She's like, I just have to get to the top. I was like, just do it. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Don't tell her.
There were certain things.
Yeah.
But
How it ultimately ended up was not how I expected, which was kind of fun. But yeah, I was a big hook for me at that moment. I was really into the storyline at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just
I'm
then,
okay with it.
Essentia has this ship come through, and at first I thought that this was like the Narada from like Star Trek 2009, like Nero's ship. But it's not. It's some other thing.
It's huge and terrifying.
It's huge.
It's huge and terrifying.
It's commanded by a dreadnought guy. And he's connected to a million wires, and it's really big and scary. And they're attacking, and Voyager is in trouble here in this battle. The Diviner's here too. He's been captured, I guess, and
all the playing cards are in Sensia's hands.
Yeah, I like how hologram Janeway has to call over. She's like, hologram Janeway or Janeway to Janeway. We've got some problems here.
I feel like the reason why I think Davan was the one saying he didn't like Ascensia. I feel like it's just because she's very much like a Ramsay Bolton from like Game of Thrones. They're like just comically like really smug villains. All they have going for them is like a really smug face, and they also have like extreme like power levels. Like you can't. They're always one step ahead of you for some reason. They always they're whatever you throw at them, and they're able to sidestep. It just gets really frustrating. They're
seemingly irredeemable, right? So I guess
they're kind of like a over the top villain,
mustache twirler.
Yeah, and they're smug. That's what she's smug. That's what's annoying about her. She's just really smug.
Right.
She's so smug.
So we see here that the Nova Squadron cadet gets injured. We find out that this Lurian's actually a lady Lurian.
Yeah, is that the first time they mentioned her pronouns before?
Yeah, at least the first time I've noticed.
Me too.
That completely slipped by me. I didn't even recognize that.
Yeah,
no. Like, I'll get her to sick bay.
I'll get her. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
All right. But this means that Dal is now going to go fly with the Nova Squadron guys as this big battle is kicking off, and Chakotay, I think, vouches for him here, basically.
He coiled rope really well. He'll fly with you guys. Don't worry. He's gotten the mission of Star Trek. He's figured it out.
Whereas, Chakotay and the rest of them are going to go off to the Protostar, and Gwen's going to go off to the Protostar. And there's kind of a moment, like a goodbye here with Dal and Gwen, which I know you know the answer, Murphy. But I was kind of like, what's this about?
It could be about anything, really.
I felt like it was them growing in a way. Like Dal's saying, he doesn't need to be the center of the thing. He recognizes he's going to go to where, like Chakotay said, where he's needed most, and he's sidestepping away from the crew. But then I also felt like, they were all this was kind of like a thing, like they're going to split off. They're going to do their own things.
They're going to do their own things. And what's needed most? And we see Chakotay
be goodbye.
Gwen makes Chakotay makes Gwen the first officer, during this mission, as they're all coming through. I was like, you could have brought a couple Starfleet people with you too.
Is there nobody on the other ship?
There's nobody on Voyager that Janeway can spare, apparently. So it's coming out. We gotta get Murph to fly it.
I
There's
felt
only
that about
enough
Nova
room
Squadron
for like
too.
10 people on Protostar.
Yeah. But Nova, is there really no one else to fly these ships.
No,
except for,
Murph
like,
is the
chicken.
best option here. So
Hey, what can I say? You know.
yeah, I guess he knows how to do this. Anyway, so like the big battle, the two ships are going at it here. Zero is helping out in sick bay. Can you use a hypo spray? Good. All right, use it. Right. The battle is doesn't really go their way. We see here, like the cadets, they all kind of launch in their fighters, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, they're what was it? What was his name from Voyager?
Tom Paris.
Oh yeah,
Tom Paris. Yeah, Tom
These are
Paris designed fighters.
Yeah, these are Tom Paris. Lieutenant Paris created these. I guess he got
right.
We
I
saw
was a
him
big
in Lower
fan of
Decks.
those.
Yeah, so
I was a big fan of the concept of fighters, and I was like, why don't they have more fighters in Star Trek? I like this idea. I hope they expand upon this idea a bit more.
Yeah, they do it in the video games a lot more and stuff, but yeah, less so in the TV. I think just because it's every ship you have to animate or create. Or
the animation on these scenes were cool too. Like it was like, how are they going to play them? I liked how they had them attached to like some of these screenshots shown to the side and the front of the ship. And they're
it was
around.
fine, like I was following along with it all. As they're trying to get close enough to target this thing because they can't target the weapons of Voyager or something, and so finally they have a lock. They have the information. Janeway fires her torpedo spread, but it doesn't matter. It just kind of bounces off, and there's a big grid thing that protects it. And they've lost shield and power, and they're pretty much defeated by the end of this episode. And then Ascension shows how she's managed to do all this. She's got Wesley Crusher, captured. And thank you for all your great suggestions.
Time, space,
thoughts. And that is the conclusion of that episode. The fifth
I'm gonna
episode.
go watch the next episode right now.
Yeah.
To know what happens.
Yeah.
I would love to talk with you guys about those episodes next week. If I can make it happen, I'm going to try, but I'm actually going to be on another podcast called Hey, Did You See This One? So if we can wrap it up quickly, I'll dip in at the last moment and wrap this wonderful Star Trek series up with you. But if not, just know that the show ends strongly, and I really do love this show. It's amazing.
I almost don't want to watch the next episodes because that's all I got left. That's it. Normally.
I know. It's like I really need them to have a season 3. There's Netflix, please invest in a season 3. The show is too good for so many of the right reasons. Give them the time, give them the money, make a season 3 happen, and everyone will consider this one of the greatest shows, if not one of the greatest Star Trek shows on Earth. I fully believe.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm so shocked no more people to me it's up there. People always going on about Lower Decks, but this is just as good in a way. Lower Decks is very much about, it has heart, but it's all about being jokey. So I feel like you can get all of the care and references that Lower Decks has, but with some heart and some sweet moments and love and all of that stuff that I think Lower Decks kind of just pokes fun at stuff, which is good, but different take on it. But
it's different. I love that it's expanding on the canon. I've wondered for almost 20 years, maybe more than 20 years, what happened to those Voyager crew after they got home. We don't even get to see them go home. We see them kind of fly into the horizon after the events of the finale. But it's kind of just neat to see Chakotay and Janeway and these other characters come back in and meet these new characters and get everything introduced. And I think some people I think the fact that it's an animated show, for some people that's an entry point. Other people it's a barrier. They just don't want to watch it because of that that aspect, which it's
Nickelodeon. That's for kids. I don't need that kind of entertainment in my life. I'm an adult.
I don't even think it's just the Nickelodeon logo, but I think that is a factor for some fans too. And it's just, I don't know. It's just it's not, some people want something more adult, more live action, and so it's not going to appeal for everybody, but
it's just
I think
so good.
I think there's room for this show to grow into a more adult storytelling. Yes, it's aimed at 7 and plus, and I think they probably should sort of stick with that demographic, because this is a great show to introduce younger audience into the greater franchise of Star Trek. Because even as a kid, my biological father was a big Star Trek fan, and I grew up watching TNG and stuff, but it was always super heady, and I thought of it as like a weird show, and I ignored it for probably the first 30 some odd years of my life. So, um, a show like this is really good to introduce the concept of what Starfleet is, what Star Trek is, and the greater concepts of what Star Trek introduce, in a simple manner, albeit, but a way that is easily digestible, entertaining, and frankly just beautiful. Even though it's a CG art form, um, they do so much time and care into that art form that it's undeniably one of the most gorgeous shows I've watched.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like this is almost like, I guess, what the reboot of Doctor Who did for like Doctor Who, because like I never watched Doctor Who. My dad watched Doctor Who, but like to me, if someone had shown me like season 1 of Doctor Who or even season 4, I'd be like, what the hell is this? Like, it's not of interest to me. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But like they kind of refreshed it and for a new audience and explained what older like fans already knew, and the Daleks and all of that stuff. I was introduced to that stuff. That's almost kind of, that's what it feels like. It's like, here, let me introduce you to the concepts of this without, because like a 10-year-old's not going to go back and watch like a 1960s like Kirk or
Probably
whatever.
not. Like, it was hard enough. It was hard enough when we were growing up. I eventually came to appreciate original series, but when I was a kid, I was like, this original series is too old. It's not for me. Next Gen felt more my era, and then the younger kids after me came along, and then they want something a little different, something that's a little bit more in their voice or style or whatever, just sensibilities. So, and so we're still trying to, I think, find that, because they've thrown a few, they've had Prodigy, they've had Lower Decks, they've had Strange New Worlds, Discovery, lots of different Star Trek shows over these last few years. I don't know. I think Strange New Worlds is probably the most successful of those, but it's
Yeah, I think Strange New Worlds is a perfect introduction to modern audience of how Star Trek could be portrayed to that modern audience. I'm 38. I've never really sat down and watched the original series, or those old scientists, as Lower Decks likes to describe them. And I personally, I'm cool with that. I will eventually watch that series. I don't find I'll probably particularly enjoy it as much as I have modern Trek with the Discovery and Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds and now Prodigy. I'm currently I've gone through TNG. I'm currently going through Deep Space Nine. I'm on the last few seasons of that. I'm taking it like one episode a day. Love it. Great stuff. Probably the cream of the crop when it comes to Star Trek. But this new stuff is just all the more interest in exploration of the ideas that will hopefully bring us to that Star Trek utopia that we all want to live in. We want to live in the society and the ideas that these shows present. And the best way to do that is to keep the interest of future generations. And what better way to keep the interest of future generations than a cartoon like this?
Oh, hey, good point. And on that note, let's rate these 5 episodes. All right, I'll go first if you'd like. So the last flight of the Protostar 1 and 2, I really enjoyed. I'm feeling like these are probably 9s for me. Tribble Called Quest, I would probably say, it's okay. I'd probably go a 7 for that. Cracked Mirror, an 8. And Ascension Part 1. So far, I was pretty excited with it, so I'm gonna go 8.5. And I might raise that if I like the next episode as much as I like this one. But yeah, pretty good. Okay, I don't know if Davan has ratings, but if he does, he can throw them in the chat.
He's saying 9 and 9. I'm guessing, is that 9, 9?
He's saying 9 for the flat split.
7.
7 and
And so far they haven't got
Let's give it
3.
a 3 to Cracked
Mm.
Mirror.
He does not like the mirror episodes.
Yeah, just the presence of Terrence makes him.
To be
take
fair,
points
I
off.
feel like that mirror episode was the better of any of them.
Me too. Okay.
man.
All right. So you're up, Jessica.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. Last start of the Protostar. Okay. I'm gonna give that one a. Oh man. I don't. 9. I guess because I like the imagery, and 8.5 for the second. No, wait. No, 9. 9. Okay. 9 for. I did like the sailing part. That was good. Triple clock. I like that. I would say an 8. 8.5 for Cracked Mirror, and a 9 for this one. I was so proud of them for being like, let Starfleet handle it. Like I felt like I'm so proud of the crew. Good job.
Let's stop insurrecting.
Cliffhanger.
Maybe we'll have less
good
insurrection.
cliffhanger.
Yeah,
episode.
the cliffhanger.
And the cliffhanger,
cliffhanger at the end.
with Wesley Crusher. Yeah, it's a great cliffhanger. So I'm kind of glad we
Hail-
kind of ended on that cliffhanger in a sense. You know, kind of.
Hail
Brutal for
Mary.
me.
You said it's Telomeres.
Murphy, you're up.
okay. So Fast and the Curious, that one's definitely getting a 5 from me.
Oh.
And then Is There No Beauty, No Truth? I'll give that one an 8. Yeah, I agree with the general overall score of that. Devour is 9, 9.5. Completely agree. Flight of the Protostar, 2 9s for sure. A Tribble Called Quest, that gets a 7 from me. And then A Cracked Mirror, 8.5. Yeah, I agree with Jessica.
The whale line alone. Come on.
Yeah. Even the whales are evil.
Evil.
And Ascension's a 9 because like everything that leads up to it, the big cliffhanger at the end, that's a huge like, what? I need to know more, and it makes you want to watch the next 5 episodes, so it gets a 9 for me.
Okay. Davin's raising his Ascension rating to 7 because he's with us on that Wesley Crusher cliffhanger, so he's willing to raise that up. Okay, so we are averaging on the last flight of the Protostar, which was the first 2 episodes we talked about, we're averaging 9. A Tribble Called Quest, we're averaging 7.3. Cracked Mirror, a 7.0. Mostly because Davin's bringing it down with a 3, and Ascension Part 1 is averaging 8.4. So, that's not. We generally like them or really like them. So that's pretty strong. And so just to wrap up here for tonight, we're just gonna look ahead of our next 5 titles. The final 5 episodes we will be talking here in season 2. So Ascension Part 2 is one of the next ones, wrapping up from where that was going, and then Brink will be episode 17.
Brink. Oh, okay.
Brink of destruction.
My brain is just, I know it's like the brink of disaster or something, but my brain just went to this really awful TV movie from the 90s about rollerblading with Eric Von Detten.
Tell me more. Tell me more in DMs and Facebook. I would love to know more.
Oh my God, Brink. Yes, Brink. Okay.
Episode 18 is called Touch of Grey.
Okay.
And then the final 2 episodes are Ouroboros, parts 1 and 2.
Ouroboros. Okay.
I feel like the Touch of Grey is a reference to TOS.
I only know about the Ouroboros because I watched that Loki season 2, and there's a character in that named Ouroboros who's kind of like the it's a guy from Indiana Jones. What's his name? Short Round.
Ki Kwan.
Yeah, him.
That was his name? Oh, okay. See, I knew
he was
Ouroboros.
It's like a snake eating its own tail or something.
Yeah, that's the general reference. It's the snake eating its own tail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in reference, I think to this, temporal paradox, we're saying doesn't the diviner have to go back in time, and doesn't all these things have to happen? So we're gonna see all that play out. But yeah, so look, we'll be here next Thursday to finish out this season 2 review. We're done 75% of season 2 now in terms of talking about it, reviewing it. So looking forward to the last one and seeing what's going on with Wesley Crusher there.
I'm just put my guess out there that I feel like they're gonna go with the Back to the Future version of history changing, in that Gwen will remember and be Gwen, but her backstory will change. He'll be a better dad this time around, just like Marty McFly had a better family this time around. That's
Yeah.
only my guess.
The only other thing I'm left thinking, I was like, poor Chakotay had to live 10 years on that planet. Like, that's a long time.
How
And he's
long was it for Janeway? Because I'm confused with the timey-wimey.
only a
Has it
couple of
also been
years.
10 years? Oh,
No.
okay. So shorter. Okay.
Much shorter
for
time.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so maybe a year or two, right?
Yeah. That definitely was like they're in love, right? Because like you don't care that you have gray hair if you're meeting someone that's just your work colleague. Like,
yeah.
why else? Okay.
He wanted to
Great.
look good for yeah, I think that they might be shipping that, so we'll see.
So I wanted to ask you two real quick. How are you feeling about Prodigy at this point? And would you recommend this show to, say, curmudgeons, quote unquote, like Jody or potentially maybe Adam Woodward, who haven't quite really given this show the chance? What do you think about that?
I have recommended it to them. Jody, I think, will watch this. I think that Adam will not, because it's a cartoon and Adam's just like, it's not what he's looking for, I guess, is the only way I can.
How do you like be so just down? Like, I mean, have they not watched a Hayao Miyazaki film? Like some of those beautiful freaking movies ever made are like animated films. Like, come on, like you can't just be like animation. Like,
I can tell you,
Jessica, preach.
there's no way my brother Jeff would ever watch this either. Like,
wow.
Why?
I feel like out of all of them, Jeff would give this the best chance. Really.
No.
If for nothing else,
he's like, no, not my brother.
If you liked Voyager, then you need to watch this. I feel like this is like a very healing.
Yeah.
Like for me, like Voyager, I watched all of Star Trek was in syndication, except for Voyager. Voyager was the only Trek I watched live. Like I actually watched it week to week. I watched the whole thing, and I just remember like throwing my remote at the TV when I saw that like grave. Who was it to die? Chakotay or Seven? It was like, oh, my great love, and I was like, what the F is this? Like. Like when I was like 16, I was like, this is bullshit. Why she was 7 of 9? I was so angry.
They got married,
I was so mad.
Right.
Like, so
that's the beauty of new Star Trek is there is potential to retcon the silly bullshit that we've had to suffer in our growing ages of watching this beloved franchise. So
yeah,
I agree. I agree that Chakotay and Seven wasn't a good pair, but at the same, I'm not hung up about it. Like
this
I don't
is
need
what
to
I watched for, Dave. You have to understand. I was like a teenage girl. I watched for Tom and B'Elanna. They got together. I got my moment, and then I was like, great, yeah, okay. And then I was like, what the F is this?
Yeah,
I'm Team Janeway. We've been talking about this since day one.
Yeah, I didn't like it either, but I'm not like it. Just it didn't work, so it's okay. Just like in real life, some people it doesn't work out.
I do find that this is good, and like we get like the same thing as Star Wars is like we get the crap, and then we have these genius people that are able to take it all and kind of write in between the lines and make something good out of the garbage that came before sometimes.
The short thought garbage that we had to deal with. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you all next week. Maybe Murphy, maybe not. Hopefully Davan will be, he'll be back in Nova Scotia by then. So check us out for the next installment. I will be on tomorrow morning with Jaemeel Robinson talking about Big Brother 26 premieres. So look out for that if you want to hear our initial about the move-ins and everything going on there. Of course, I think you're doing. Hey, did you see this one? You mentioned.
I will be on. Hey, did you see this one? Talking about the film Behind the Mask with Leslie Vernon, a not well-known B movie about a gentleman that wants to become a serial killer in the grand ethos of like Michael Myers and Jason and stuff like that. It's a really fun B movie. I watched it years ago. I mentioned this to Jason one day when we went to see a show, the Eric Andre show at the History, and he's like, okay, you're going to be on the show to talk about this movie, so we're going to be talking about that next week. So I got to rewatch that film. It's going to be fun.
Great. Look out, Trivial Debates coming up later this month. I'll be hosting a Star Trek theme one. I'm sure we'll be simulcasting it here to Live Long and Podcast as well.
We will. I got to set that up. I got the questions. I got the answers. I got to set up the poster, and all the material. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. We gotta have Trek Trav from Australia, our own Ashley Millard, and Trek Culture's own Sean Farrick duking it out on our own Trivial Debates. So
Quite international, yeah. So
yeah, it's gonna be an international episode. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
All right, looking forward to that. Of course, check out Monday nights. We're covering the Orville episodes with Jodie Simpson and crew. Look out for those. Star Trek: The Next Generation episode reviews. We're still in season 1 over there. Just did the battle, and I can't remember what. I'm trying to remember. I should
Every
know.
Tuesday.
Yeah, look out. We'll be on this Tuesday as well. We already did Justice. Oh yeah, we're doing Hide and Q. We're doing Hide and Q.
Right,
this
Hide and
Tuesday.
Q. That's right. That's next. We're gonna have Heather Narduzzi on for that episode, and Jodie Simpson, I believe.
No, Kevin Millard.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Me and Heather had a really funny discussion on the debate 9 about about justice and falling in the flowers.
Yeah, that was a good one. Well, rules are rules. That's how it goes.
Fall in the flowers, you die.
And with all that, I think we can sign off. I gotta go get some dinner. Go watch.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Big Brother. And I'm gonna get out of here. So just because I saw them in this in one of these episodes, I'm gonna bring them out for the final clip here. We'll see you next time. Thanks to Davan, who we lost on the hotel Wi-Fi. Jessica,
We lost him in the vapor ocean.
In the vapor ocean, and we'll see you next time.
They are Starflight?
For the answer to call, you must hear the logs. We've stayed prepared and kept them word for word, just as our forefathers did. So, we must play the logs. Everyone, to the bridge!
I need to watch that again.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on Trivial Debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.